Hi, I wanted to go through and do a quick look through of the 3DForge sewer kit, the release demo level. And this one I haven't done any baking or anything. I had some occlusion cooling already baked into the scene. And this one is kind of, this scene has two different versions of this level. One is a top-down version of the sewers, and this is the FPS version of the sewers. So I'm looking at the FPS version of the sewers. And I wanted to take a look at this because it's the deeper down FPS demo is kind of boring, and this one has a lot more variety in it. And so really good use of like lighting and fog, and kind of shows what you can do with this toolkit. One of the first things that pops out though is you'll see these where the texture just kind of these capstones, and what's going on here is this level there's two versions of these assets. One is for the default version is the top-down layout where you would design a sewer with a top-down perspective view, and in the top-down view these are the capstones that you see when you're looking down. So you have this wall here, and the wall ends in this sort of capstone. And what looks like he did there is he built the top-down version of this level. Then he came back and just added on top of it the some larger walls and a ceiling up top. So unfortunately though, when you do that, you get this look through, which there's no mesh at the bottom here, so this texture, so that's why we see up through here, which you don't see that when you're looking down. And if you're optimizing for top-down experience, that's what you want to do. You don't want to have a mesh down here. But in a first-person perspective, it doesn't really work. However, these assets here, these pillars, these walls, these floors, they do have a first-person FPS version that does not have that issue. So we'll go through here. There's really nice bridges. And you can see it's got really good fog here. Some nice assets through here. Really good use of lighting in this level. I do see performance hits now and then. I don't know if it's going to do it here. And when I do though, that's related to fog and lights. I don't think that's the assets. So you see like right here if I'm looking here. And this kind of points out the kind of problems you can have with the VR development. You really don't want to see those kinds of frames. Like if I was here and there was fighting goblins there, and I had a friend fighting goblins there with a lot of enemies, we don't want to see that go on. But that is the fog. I'm pretty sure that's the fog because I've had problems with fog in VR. Kind of go look around here. And everything looks really nice. Nice pipes. Again, you can see the bleed through here. That's because this is a these are top-down assets. This is really nice here. One thing here is kind of interesting to see is what I've noticed in other kinds of assets from other content creators is these kinds of floorboards type things where if I try to do movement over this, I don't know if you can see the little green ball, it doesn't go down like it does here. Well, some people when they design these, they try to be really smart and not have this be a solid collision and do the collisions on the boards, so that means you can teleport to the floorboards, which is kind of not what you want. Gonna look back here. I'm getting a weird, I don't know if you can see that, but I get a blank in and out. And that's not related to these assets, that's just related to VR and lighting. This is kind of a cool scene looking in through here. It's a nice use of water. If you had your own water system, you could put a water table on there so that all spills into the water and make it look like a nice muddy soup. And here's one area we're going to run into, which is kind of a problem for this asset for VR, and that is these. These have the same problem where they have the go through because they're a top-down asset. Unfortunately, these are under the door prefabs and door meshes, and they're called arches. These are arches, and there are no FPS variants for these specific assets. Like this one here. Here's another example. This one right here. I believe this is another one. You can see the same issue through here where it's cutting through. So there are archway and doorway assets for FPS that are part of the walls where they would go straight all the way up, but they don't have just the standalone kind of arch with this extra thing going on here with the space. And you can kind of get around this by putting a double-sided texture on this, or double-sided shader, excuse me, and that means you'll still see through the bottom, but then you end up seeing the top of the stone, so it looks kind of like a box. But unfortunately, this is all one solid mesh, likely for optimization reasons, so you can't go in here and just edit this and apply a mesh down here very easily. If there's one enhancement I'd like to see on this, is that for doors on the FPS, that we could get these arches. That would be really nice. Basically just see if he has the raw assets where he can edit that and just change those to have a mesh on the bottom. It's very immersive. Really good use of lighting. I like the different colors of lights. And again, here you see the cut through. But again, these are standard wall assets, which there are FPS versions of that. So if you're building FPS rooms, you don't have that. Now I will say that there are room prefabs, but those room prefabs only come in the top-down version. So you will not have prefabs for entire rooms and entire hallways. You have prefabs for walls, ceiling, doors, walls, ceilings, floors, these kind of gate things and all that kind of stuff. Not these specific ones, but ones that go all the way up to the ceiling. So you need to build your own rooms, build your own hallways. And something that helps with that is an asset like ProGrid 2, which lets you snap these assets together very easily. And build your rooms, and build your own hallways. Again, the change in lighting here is nice. You got the orange, the green, going into the yellow. Kind of just draws your eye to that, make you want to just explore and see what's going on over here. Again, it's really a shame that they don't have FPS versions of that, because these would make just really nice interior small walls. That would be my only, if I had to knock this for anything, it'd just be for that. These are triangles, but again, they don't look bad at all. They look nice. Loads of ambience. I like the little floaty things he has floating through here. It's nice. You wouldn't think it. These little floating particles. So coming in here, you just immediately want to see the blue and explore, or go down that way and explore. Same thing there. It just draws your eye, especially the particles. This is very nice. This works really well. Eating up. This is really dark, kind of hard to see, but it's nice. Nice little fire pit there. Good looking benches. Looks like some sort of I don't know, like a little ceremonial pit. here you can see it's ducking down a little bit. Yeah, it's when I look down that way. There's something down that way that it's drawing that's killing my FPS, my frames per second. But that's not really a problem with the 3D assets. It's just there's something going on there that need to be fixed when you're designing a scene. Kind of standard. I don't think I've gone this way, have I? No, I have not. Okay. That looks really nice. Nice stairway down. And the little particles are all flowing out that way, like it's like there's a wind going through here. And the fog is really nice too. Nice little jail cell. Does this have the so in this particular thing there's nothing capping it, which is causing problems. However, in here it's the same thing, and that's that archway, and that's the small little tap down walls, which really aren't something you're going to want to use, at least not unless these get fixed. And again, you can see that here too. That's the top down wall, those little capstones. I think that's it. So yeah, in general, this is really nice. It's kind of showcases you can. There's a lot more you can do with these assets for building your levels. It feels really nice. Feels really immersive. You just need to either avoid those or just put a double-sided shader on them and kind of accept that they're gonna not have that base part of it. But other than that, everything looks really good and it performs really well. So I hope this was useful for you.